Short films are the creative playground for both beginners and seasoned film pros. They give the filmmaker a space to experiment, hone skills, and tell stories that just don't work in a longer format. In this show, I'll be looking at short films made specifically by independent Christian filmmakers, and I'll be unpacking the good and the bad about each film. I'll look at it from both an audience perspective of whether it's worth watching, and critique it as a filmmaker based on my own decade and a half of movie making experience. Hi there, I'm Zack Lawrence, and this is my long take on short films.
How could we keep a third year quiet, much less a first? Where are we supposed to hide him during inspection? How are we going to get his wrist tagged?
We'll figure it out.
People don't just appear out here, Kate! They know everything about everyone! Are we supposed to hide him inside his entire life so that he never sees the sun, never has friends? They will tear him apart!
Set in a dystopian post-war world where wild mammals are killed on sight to prevent their spreading a deadly virus, and the population is tightly controlled, Bump tells the story of Kate and Stephen. Despite being paired together by the authorities, Kate and Stephen genuinely love each other. However, when Kate discovers that she's begun to grow out of her designated size, she fears that she's contracted the virus and will be taken away from Stephen. Now, from that description alone, you might think this is a story about eating disorders or something, but no, it turns out that Kate is pregnant. Now, because of children now being raised from birth by government facilities, they have no knowledge of where babies actually come from.
A baby, huh? Where else do you think we come from? Well, this is going to be a long night.
And that is my favorite moment in the entire movie, by the way. Now, once this revelation is made, we then see Stephen and Kate figure out what to do about this very dangerous situation they find themselves in. Because if Kate's found out, she'll be arrested and sent to rot in government mines, and the baby will be destroyed. Now, this is an interesting movie on several different levels. I found this bleak world created by writer-director Katherine Johnson to be an interesting look into a conservative Christian's idea of what a dystopian world run by the pro-abortion left could look like. It's like the political opposite of The Handmaid's Tale, and it also brings to mind films like The Island or THX 1138, or the Christian film Remember, albeit in a lower-tech, more agrarian version. It looks like some detailed world building went into this, and we get glimpses of the history and structure of the movie's world, though it could have benefited from a little more detail being given so we could fully understand and appreciate the setting. Granted, with the time constraint of a 40-minute short film, there's only so much you can show before you sacrifice the story. I'm intrigued enough by what information was given that I wouldn't mind seeing a feature-length movie set in this world to learn more about it. The most compelling character to me was Stephen, played by J.C. Scott. He has the most developed character arc and really is the hero of the story. He faces having his whole world destroyed by Kate's pregnancy, and he really goes through the whole range of emotions from confusion to hopeful to despair and anger, and then finally rising to do whatever it takes to protect his family. JC's performance was by far the best in the film. I was disappointed that the character of Kate wasn't really given much to work with. She's so subdued and glum for most of the film, and she doesn't really have much growth. There's a little bit of fear when she realizes she's pregnant, and some brief lighter moments peppered here and there, but there really wasn't much for her actress, Bethany Davenport, to work with. The story overall works well as a pro-life parable, if you will, though I did find the climax to be a little disappointing. There's a lot of build-up as Stephen and Kate make their escape from their village, and you expect the guards to catch up at every turn. But other than one brief, conveniently resolved encounter, not much really happens. You know, the way it's paced and with the music used, I expected at least a chase scene or a tragedy of some kind, but nothing really happened. And in a way that robbed the ending of its power. And that's disappointing because if you're making a movie to help the pro-life cause, which I fully support, you've got to have an ending that really has some oomph behind it to give your audience that emotional rush that will help them take up your call to action. And speaking of calls to action, I do want to go on a brief tangent here. I do feel that it was unfortunate that they chose to use endabortionnow.com as the website they point people to at the end of the credits. I went to the site after watching the film to see what their approach is, And unfortunately, they're in the camp of wanting to punish the mothers that have an abortion rather than show them Christ's love and forgiveness and healing. In my experience, that approach does far more harm than good to the pro-life cause. So if this movie does inspire you to want to support a pro-life organization, I would recommend looking somewhere else. Overall, I did enjoy Bump, and I do think it's worth watching. It's a decent story with an intriguing setting and good pro-life themes. The cinematography is good, though I felt the color correction was a little too overdone, made things look a little too desaturated. It was well edited, with shots not lingering too long or being cut too short. So if you are pro-life, it's a good movie to support if it's showing at your local theater. If you're not pro-life, it's not going to change your mind by any means, but you might still enjoy the story of a couple bravely rebelling against the system. It's by no means a great film, but it does have its strengths that balance out its weaknesses. Now, on this show, I wrap up each review with a concise rating system, a TLDR score if you like. So the options are loved it, meh positive, meh negative, and hated it. Because Bump's a bit of a bumpy ride with lots of pros and cons, I give it a meh positive. It's a decent little story with underlying themes that we all need to rally behind. That the life of the unborn is worth risking everything to protect. You can learn more about Bump at facebook.com/sheepshedentertainment.
The bus will be here in 30 minutes.
I don't have 30.
I've only got one seat.
Hi, Dad.
After getting a voicemail from his runaway daughter, Walter is faced with a decision. Take a stranger in labor to the hospital in his two-seater car, or go after his daughter. You Should Be There, also referred to as just There, is a very well-made film with performances that really yank at your heartstrings. It's only 5 minutes long, but brother-sister writing-directing team William and Morgan Willer pack a lot into this emotional little film. There's a lot of subtext that you don't usually get in Christian films, and the cast absolutely knocks it out of the park. Rich Swingle, who plays the workaholic father Walter, does a great job showing the anguish he feels being torn between helping these strangers and going after his teenage daughter, who just so happens to be at the same bus stop. Now, as a father myself, it was heart-wrenching to hear the daughter bitterly accuse her father of never being there for her. So it serves as a poignant reminder to us parents to make sure we're doing everything that we can to be there for our kids. But it also offers hope that it's never too late to make changes if you have let yourself drift away from your family. The production design and cinematography are top-notch. You can really tell that everyone on the crew put their all into making this movie. The music and sound design are phenomenal, especially considering the entire movie takes place in a rainstorm. There's no muddy dialogue, and the music really works in emphasizing the emotion and not overpowering the scene. My only nitpick has to do with the conclusion of the film. Now, the way the story is resolved hinges on a brief exchange between two characters, and it was a little confusing as to why it was significant. For the person giving the item, it makes sense, but I was left uncertain as to why it had an impact on the receiving character. As much as I love subtext, this one was a little too subtle in my opinion, and I worry that audiences might be left a little confused by it. Apart from that though, You Should Be There is a very good film, and I'm very proud to say that I give this movie a rating of loved it. To watch You Should Be There and learn more, visit facebook.com/filmsoundlightstory. I'll have links to the films and the production company Facebook pages for both Bump and You Should Be There in the description below. If you've seen any of the movies featured in this episode, let me know what you thought of them. Or if there are any films you want me to look at for future episodes, leave a comment below or email longtake@standingsun.com. I'm Zack Lawrence, and that's my long take of these short films. Thanks for watching. Short Films, The Long Take with Zack Lawrence, is brought to you by Storytellers. To learn more about their mission and services for Christian storytellers, visit storytellers.sctreehouse.com.